It is late at night. Well, actually, early in the morning because I got carried away making graphics for what I'm about to talk about. Just some random interesting stuff. I thought it would take me 5 minutes, but combination, variety of things. And so here we are. So it is early in the morning and we are off the grid. And while both of those things are true, I cannot vouch for anything else in the world. And that means it's about time to check in on our power, see what our power situation is. And we'll do a little power trip. How much power did we use today? We did not use as much power as the federal government, I could tell you that. We didn't use too much power at all. And right now, since it's like 2, 3 in the morning, we haven't used much power for this particular day yet. But this is how today looked. This is how tonight looked. Probably like 4 o'clock. Just give you a sense of it. There's our solar shed in the background there. This is a good one because we're teaching our dog Huckleberry a trick. That trick, in case you heard it.
Do you want to go out, buddy? Can you ring the bell again?
Oh, so smart. He's
Yep.
so smart. So that's our power trip. Our power trip is just teaching our new dog a new trick. Well, he's newish. He knows a lot of tricks. He's a really good boy. But you could see we had a lot of good sun today. I'll let this play out and we can rewind it back to the beginning. You can see the sky. The clouds moved away. We fully charged our battery. Life is good, at least out here on the off-grid farm. But what does that mean for the actual power that we made? So here we are. Here's a little breakdown of our power. 74% we're sitting at. And I took this pretty recently. This was 2:53. So this was not too long ago in the morning. So as of that amount of time, we have used about 25% of our overall system to get to this point in the morning. So that had been charged up. We probably stopped producing power, even though the sun goes down. This time in the fall in New England, the sun goes down around 5:30. But we really, in all practicality, don't produce much power after 3:30 or 4 o'clock p.m. And that's just going to keep diminishing until December 21st, our shortest day of the year, when we will stop producing. We'll only produce power for a couple of hours when it's really sunny out. So that changes the dynamic. But I digress. Here we are today, 72% now. And you could see we were using 3.1 kilowatts, or around that, just a quick smidgy. We were using 3.7 kilowatts, something our heat is on. That's a heat number right there. And you'll see when we go to see the usage for the day, even though we haven't used that much, 2.9 kilowatts, you see that early spike, that green spike on the left-hand side of the screen. This is our Tesla app. It gives us a kind of a real-time look in on how much power we're using and producing. And if we were grid tied, what we would be interfacing in and out with the grid. But we're not, and so we're just off the grid. We used 2.9 so far. One spike in power is probably one more. I heard the heat go on a little while ago, a few minutes ago. And we haven't quite yet started switch to our heating system for the winter, which is really a wood burning fireplace. I mean, that thing is just fantastic. We live out in the woods, and keeping our house so cozy and radiantly warm with that fireplace, and having the redundancy in system. So if we've got the streak of sunny days, we can use the heat, but by and large, we keep 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit with our wood burning stove in a pretty large 2,400 square foot house. And then plus my studio, I wear my sweatshirt, but it gets a little chilly up here. So you can see we haven't brought anything solar in today because it's 3 in the morning. We haven't used any of the grid today because we're off grid. It's making sense. I like when things add up. It's very pragmatic. You can see yesterday we used 24.5, and you see all those spikes. You see those green spikes is where it's just pulling from the power wall, and the heat from the heating system, the HVAC system, is like, we need you, power wall, and those spikes start to happen. And then those yellow spikes is when the solar starts to kick in and supplement or complement the power from the power wall, because the gateway, which is the control panel in our solar shed that decides how much power everything needs and where to send it from, I think prefers to pull from solar when it's available and reserve that battery power for when the solar is not available. And that's why you see midday those spikes pulling from the solar, those yellow spikes. So that was yesterday at 24.5. The day before that, slightly more power at 28.5. Oh, did I miss that? At 28. And you could see, again, all those spikes. That's our heating system. So that's our heat pump. We have a very high efficiency. I think it works really well. Source of heat, HVAC system that is ducted on our first floor, and then we've got mini splits on our second floor, which we don't use very much. We mostly just use the ducted first floor, and it tends to heat the house when the fireplace isn't running. So there we go. We got 24. So we're averaging in the mid-20s in the fall, which should be pretty typical when we're starting to run that heat. We'll actually possibly average less in the wintertime. We're going to see. You'll see as I keep reporting on our power usage. In the wintertime, ironically, I think we're going to use a little less power because as we switch from the heavier usage on our heating system, on our heat pumps, to using the fan and just the fan and blower from the fireplace, it significantly reduces. For instance, for an hour, we're never running the heat in the HVAC system consistently for an hour. So, it's on for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, it'll shut off, and then, it'll start to, the temperature will drop and it'll kick back on. But let's just say per hour, if we're just extrapolating out, and we're using, 3 or 4 kilowatts an hour for our heating system, even if we're using 2.5, we're only using 0.5 kilowatts, less than that. We're using probably 0.3 kilowatts when our fireplace and fan blower are on. So we probably use 0.6 total sometimes per hour in the wintertime. Whereas here, as you could see, we're using 3.1 right now on the right-hand side of that screen. So that's our breakdown. That's the power trip. And I just thought that was interesting. And so then that made me flip over to the food, my food for thought, my made me look, actually. My made me look today, I thought this was pretty nifty. Let's see, I have to pull this off, take something off to put something on, as they say. So I like this. So this is from Jalopnik. What was this from? Yep, Jalopnik. A breathtaking Art Deco inspired coupe with solar paint. So that's the last part got me really excited because I've seen this before from Mercedes. I've seen it on the G-Wagon, and I went down another rabbit hole tonight. The other day, I went down the East Wing White House Edition volume rabbit hole, which we'll be revisiting. I'm still working away at that on my 3D model. But this time, I went down the solar paint. The breathtaking Art Deco inspired coupe looks really cool. But the solar paint is what caught my eye because how much power is solar paint actually going to produce? And I think this is probably a dedicated longer segment that I got to put together. But let's just breeze through this article real quick. First of all, I think the car is sharp. I think it is Art Deco inspired. I think it does have really nice lines. And I think that's really, I don't know if it'll ever get made or anything, but I think it looks, from a rendering standpoint, looks pretty sharp. So let's see here. Out of dozens of production cars and concept vehicles that Mercedes-Benz has unveiled over the past decade, few are as beloved and still talked about as the Maybach Vision 6. Is that what this is, the Maybach Vision 6? Coupe and convertible, which were shown off in 2016-17. These glorious and gigantic two doors were the ultimate flight of fancy. Yada, 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 yada. Let's see. While the automaker is just calling this a show car, makes sense. There's a bunch of features that Mercedes is developing and thinking about. This, I believe, from steer-by-wire to solar paint. I've heard about the solar paint a bunch. Does this talk more about solar paint at all? How the concept looks? No, that's a car. It's a sleek car. I feel like it takes a lot of classic designs. I'm not like a car aficionado, but I feel like it takes a lot of classic design stylings throughout different years and incorporates them nicely. Does not look like a hodgepodge. Let's see here. Say anything about the solar, because I have things. Yes, here. Your future Benz could have solar paint. Let's see what this says. Mercedes says it's researching solar modules that could be seamlessly applied to the body of electric vehicles, similar to a wafer-thin paste, kind of like a paint, from what I can understand. It's this Perscovite. Perscovite's like a new structure, a new chemical structure of solar panels that kind of breaks away from that traditional, more rigid lithium or silicone wafer panel. to add an actually meaningful amount of range. Now that's my question. A meaningful amount of range, and what is a meaningful amount of range? The photovoltaic active surface could be adaptable to various substrates when applied to the entire vehicle surface of Vision Icon. Additional electric range could be harnessed from the sun, depending on geographical location and conditions. For example, an area of 118 square feet, equivalent to the surface of a mid-size SUV, I think that's kind of G-Wagon range too, could produce energy for approximately 7,450 miles of range per year under ideal conditions. That's quite that's a statement saying, under ideal conditions, based on the light incidence in Stuttgart, Germany. I don't know what that light incidence is, but I did my own light incidence based on what we have around here. The coating does not contain any rare earths or silicone and can be easily recycled. The solar cells have a high efficiency rating of 20% and continuously generate energy even when the vehicle is switched off. That makes sense. Okay, so let's oh, look at that. That's wild, right? Look at that interior. That's cool. This looks like a ride at Disney or something. This is like being in Epcot. This is like being in the geodesic dome in Epcot. This is what I imagine you take around the dome. All right, but for all our intents and purposes, let's focus on the solar here, because I think that part is pretty important. And I did a little homework. First, I did a little animation because I've been working with these animations. Let me see if I can get this. Let me see if I can get this to go. There we go. Got this to go. So I've been working with these animations based on our solar shed. Again, this is based on this is 36 solar panels on the back of our solar shed. I just pulled this model out because I'd already done it when we were designing the house and we did all the construction documents. I figured it's easier to show everybody, how this thing should look in 3D and 3D model. Now, it looks 90% like this. We made some modifications as we built, as you always do. You got to make some changes. But coming in here, I figured I'd use it for my little workshop for tinkering thoughts and ideas and things like that. And solar paint. And like I said, solar paint, for me, the G-Wagon was a little bit easier of a kind of like a test configuration or an example to use, just because the boxiness of it also allowed me to compare what a solar panel would look like if it was mounted on the top of the G-Wagon, similarly to what we looked at with that small Japanese car that had the solar roof with the extendable front that was able to provide extra power. So again, Mercedes-Benz has really been looking at this for a little while now, and I think it's pretty unique and unusual. And I think that the opportunity to adapt this to a wide range of cars makes it appealing to say that if they can have a breakthrough with this technology, that the potential of its usage to actually, I just coated this car with a kind of a paint that you could tell what surface areas I was lighting up, as opposed to what I was using and comparing it to with solar panels. And is it as effective as solar panels? And I did run some numbers too. And again, at the end of the day, you can run all the numbers you want. You got to see this thing built. You got to see it in the real world. And then it'll give a much better sense of how efficient this could be. So here I could stop. Oh, and then I figured, you could cover trailers. I mean, semis. I mean, if this is this Perscovite kind of paint, this, kind of, it's very permeable, or it's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's early in the morning here, flexible. And so it can cover a variety of surfaces. And I think its purpose could be really interesting, as opposed to like solar panels, which are susceptible. You need to figure out a way to origami this thing, pull it out. I think the potential is there to really capitalize on the usage of a new approach to applying solar panels. So anyway, for all our intents and purposes, I was just looking at numbers of how basically solar paint practical. Then there's a few questions to bring up here, and I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it, but a little bit of time I think will be helpful. So if we're talking about solar paint, we're taking key assumptions. They said 118 square feet. That's why I said when I looked at the G-Wagon and I broke down all the components into like little kind of model pieces, if you will, and saw what components they would be covering with solar paint, I got about 120 square feet as well. And the efficiency of those panels at 20%, I do think it could probably bump up a little from that. The solar radiance is just kind of where I am in New England. I know they use Stuttgart, Germany, and sunlight hours. And that's going to vary too. It's going to be varying from California that it is up in New England, that it is somewhere in Europe. But anyway, I just use the numbers that I'm comfortable with and that I've worked with before. And so that being said, simple calculation, meters squared times efficiency times watts per meter squared times hour per day, and you get your potential energy. And I am not a good math person, so feel free to check my math on this. I tried to be careful with it. I tried to track it through. I tried to keep it simple. And that's why I just put it out here. So we're looking at 1,115 watts per day. So call it 11.15 kilowatts per day. That's the potential energy. And that's best case scenario. And so if we're just moving through that and we're saying, okay, if that's 100% exposure, 11.15 kilowatts, what's 90, what's 80, what's 70% exposure? Because think about these vehicles, they're going to be moving, and they're going to be moving, through shade trees and parking garages and things like that. And it's not always going to be the optimal exposure at the optimal time to be able to, create your 100 for your full potential. So 70, I think 70 is even a little bit high, but let's use 70 because I feel like that's it's a moderate number. And it's a good compromise. So if we use that, and then we're talking about the potential solar range on that, if we're using 7.8 kilowatts a day, we got 3 miles per kilowatt. You could get more. Maybe some of these cars are 4.8 kilometers per kilowatt. I kind of tried to put it into both ranges. But I think, with our Ioniq 5, we are somewhere between 3 and 4 miles per kilowatt. So that's a good number for us, a real-time number for us to use, for me to use up here. So that gives us about 23.4 miles a day. That is a decent number. I mean, if you're not driving long distances, if you're an urban commuter, or if you are working, close to home most of the time, 23.4 miles per day on 70% efficiency, I think is pretty solid. So that's, I think that does kind of track. So that's, 13,000. It's not 13,000 kilometers a day. I don't know why I wrote that. I think that's per year. 8,000. I think it's 13,000 kilometers a year, 37.4 kilometers a day. I just mislabeled it. But I think that's pretty impressive for being able to incorporate solar paint into vehicles, especially when they look like that. That's sharp. That definitely caught my eye, and wondering if that math checked out made me curious. And now I am on a little bit of a curiosity kick with solar paint. I am going to do a little bit more homework on it because I'm fascinated by it. And I think that there's really, really good potential there. So that made me look today. That checked out. What do you think? You think 23, 24 miles a day just generated from the sunshine on hitting your car as it normally would? Would that be enough for you? Over the course of 2 or 3 days, you're getting 50, 75, maybe 100 miles of range, plus in a week just from your car sitting out in your driveway or driving around. So I think that could have potential, and I think that could be impressive, and ultimately a much cleaner way than having to incorporate traditional photovoltaics onto the automobile. So that moves us over to food for thought. What did I have for food for thought today? Did it even have anything for I thought I did. Oh yeah, I did. Food for thought today. I like this one. Food for thought today. We go to art. What was this? This was art market. 4 reasons why looking at art is good for you, by Amy Dawson. Thanks for writing this article, Amy. And that is some cool art right there. I mean, again, I love creating art. I don't really know a ton of art history or the technical, capital A museum style critiques of art, but I know what I like. That I like. That is definitely something I like. So, can you imagine a doctor prescribing art? I can. I can imagine that. This year, there have been several such instances internationally, including in Canada, the US, and Switzerland, with patients receiving free entry to museums, exhibition tours, and creative activities to help alleviate a variety of symptoms. I think that's fantastic, and I think we need more of that. I think that's a great um, weaving together of joy and healing and culture and I think humanitarian, compassionate, quality healthcare. Several institutions around the globe are actively working to bring art and well-being closer together. The World Health Organization, for example, co-launched the global initiative Jameel Arts and Health Lab in 2023 with the aim to, quote, measurably improve health and well-being through the arts and to drive the integration of the arts into mainstream healthcare. A growing body of research, including a new systematic review by researchers affiliated with our lab, shows that even a single session of viewing visual art can significantly enhance well-being. I agree with that. Footnote. Jonathan the Painter agrees with that. Reduce stress and activate pleasure and reward pathways in the brain, said Dr. Nisha Sajnani. Dr. Nisha Sajnani. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Director of Arts and Health at New York University and co-director of Jameel Arts and Health Lab. These effects are amplified by moments of reflection, social connection, and personal meaning, reminding us that art doesn't just reflect life, it helps us feel more alive. From your head to your heart, here are 4 scientifically proven ways that art can help improve your health and well-being. Art can help your mental health. I agree with that. I don't need to read the whole thing. I mean, it could just help it's alleviating symptoms of depression, anxiety, stress. I mean, I'm all for it. I feel the exact same way. I started painting when my dad was diagnosed with late-stage cancer. I could tell that story another time. And the only thing he asked me was to stay positive. And the only way that I figured out how to stay positive was through art and through creativity and through a paintbrush. And it kept us connected through his 4 months of treatment. And unfortunately, he passed away. But we created all of these wonderful milestones and stepping stones and opportunities to create something positive out of a really challenging tragedy. And so I've never put the brush down because that was my promise to him to stay positive. So that's, again, another conversation for another day, but I just thought this was really great food for thought. So here, the artwork operates at a profound level. It can acknowledge a person's experience, communicate that they are valued, and offer a view of another world and new possibilities. In complement to clinical care, all of these contribute tangibly to recovery and healing. I'm going to say that again. In complement to clinical care, all of these contribute tangibly to recovery and healing. That's really important. That's a great line. Art can improve social skills and resilience. I agree with that. Even though sometimes I don't want to be social at all and I feel very unresilient, I think it helps improve. I think it's the combination of everything. Artists can show us a different point of view. Your art world celebrates difference, integration, and the fact that we all see things differently, encouraging young people to be open-minded, which is one of the traits of a creative mindset. Engaging with art can help your heart. It's a great picture. That's at the Louvre. Did this get stolen or no? This probably didn't get stolen. Just the jewels, just the family jewels. There's scientific evidence that viewing art can help maintain heart health. Looking at artworks has been reported to reduce blood pressure. One report even suggests that figurative art is better for your blood pressure than what the reporter calls modern art. That's funny. We could pick apart. That's a whole topic. That's a whole topic unto itself. Figurative art is better for your blood pressure than what the report calls modern art. The positive emotions we feel when we are moved by art have also been linked with lower levels of cytokines, which are proteins that help control inflammation. That's really interesting to hear because I, as a full disclosure, I have multiple sclerosis, and I have a lot of inflammation, just joint inflammation and just things that I feel like looking at art does help me just calm my whole system down, my whole autoimmune system. and the inflammation in my system, I can actually feel it just settling a little bit. But that's looking at modern art too, so I don't know, or whatever the report calls modern art. But it could be figure art. I think it's just art that makes me happy, art that brings me joy. It can help lower your heart rate. That's good. Being around art can lift your mood. Totally agree with that. That's an interesting picture. I wonder what they're looking at. Don't you kind of wonder what they're looking at? Is it like, I feel like something's happening. They're just like not looking at a framed piece of art. That's not how you look at a framed piece of artwork. Getting on a tangent here, but like, and then the kids in the middle, one of these kids is super unimpressed and one of these kids is super curious. That about sums it up. I think that's what I love about artwork. It's like everybody sees something different from it. Florence, Gallery Greta Mert. There's some cool artwork they got in this article, though. Our love for art is chemical. Studies show that being in the presence of great art releases dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter that contributes to feelings of pleasure. That's cool. I agree with that. What we are doing is giving scientific truth to what has been known for a long time, that beautiful paintings make us feel much better. I'll asterisk beautiful there. I would just say that paintings make us feel much better. I would just say that art brings us joy. I could distill it down to that. I'm going to just edit this. I hope, Amy, I hope you don't mind me editing. Whose quote was this from the Telegraph? Somebody told this to the Zeki. This guy Zeki here. Samir Zeki of University College London. Professor Zeki, I am going to slightly alter your quote, but I think it's in the heart. I mean, it's in the spirit of getting at the essence of this quote. So, if I may, what we are doing is giving scientific truth to what has been known for a long time, that art brings us joy. What we didn't realize until we did these studies is just how powerful the effect on the brain is. Pretty cool. Oh, I could read about art all day long. I could paint all day long. Man, I do love art. This is cool. This is super engaging. Super colorful, super fun. Find some art today. If anybody's out there looking for something to do, needing a pick-me-up, wanting to lower their heart rate, wanting to make social connections. Honestly, it does. It checks all those boxes. This is a really cool article, so I appreciate that. Thank you for writing this article. That being said, do we want to watch Huckleberry? Oh, do we want to? I could have done that. The pigs are really cute too. We got pigs in our backyard. This sounds like a funny thing to say, but we do.
Well, buddy.
Ring the bell
Ring
again.
the bell again.
Yes, my guy. Good job, buddy. Good job, Huckleberry. Well, it's 3:30 in the morning. Thanks for watching this, whoever stuck with any part of this, any 1 second of this. I hope any of this information's been helpful. But at the end of the day, go look at some art today. Treat yourself well today. Pat yourself on the back today. You made it through. Hope you got enough power for your day, inside and out. I am Jonathan the Painter. This has been off-grid, late night, early morning, somewhere around there. But really appreciate everybody. Catch you soon.